Hi, I'm Fraser Douglas, the avid tent camper. In this video, I want to show you my new Helko Classic Pathfinder hatchet and explain why I believe this is the best camp hatchet I have ever owned. For this video, I have enlisted the help of my two grandchildren, Eric on the left and Christian on the right. Over the past year, I have used several different camp axes. These include the vintage SA Wetterlings on the far left, the Husqvarna curved handle hatchet, the Helko Pathfinder, the steel Rhineland pattern, and the Condor Greenland pattern. Before buying the Helko axe, I considered the Gränsfors wildlife hatchet and a couple of other GB products, a couple of SA Wetterlings axes, and a couple of Holtz Brook axes. Now let me tell you why I like this Helko axe. The handle is 15 inches long, which I consider to be the perfect length. It is long enough to give you the force necessary to split large pieces of wood, but short enough to allow control needed for fine cutting and to pack in a tool bag. The head weighs 1.5 pounds, which is a quarter pound heavier than most other camp axes. This extra quarter of a pound gives you quite a bit more mass for splitting and cutting large pieces of wood. The large Dayton pattern head shape gives you a small overstrike zone. The flat, perpendicular line curvature with no high point at the center line makes it very easy to split kindling. Although it has a slight concave curvature along the center line, I can't see that the curvature has a negative effect on splitting firewood. The slightly curved edge and the very thin bit make it an excellent cutting tool. According to the Helko brochure, the hatchet is made from C45 German high-grade carbon steel that is oil hardened to 53 to 56 HRC on the Rockwell scale. The axe comes with a sheath, but I paid an extra $5 to get this premium sheath. And now let me mention a couple of negatives. I bought the axe from Helko North America and paid $100. This is $50 more than any other axe in my collection, but it is about the same price as the Gränsfors Brooks, the Wetterlings, and the Holtz Brooks axes. More importantly, I was a little disappointed with the overall fit and finish considering its $100 price tag. The head is polished and looks very nice, and it has a large palm swell, which I really like, but the wedge was a little too short, leaving a gap in the eye, and the grain orientation was very poor. So now, let's test this axe out. The first thing that I want to do is split a little bit of firewood. I want to try to split this piece of oak firewood that is about 16 inches long and 5 inches in diameter. To make things difficult, there's a knot in it right here, which is going to make it a little tough to split. I want to try to split this piece of oak down to kindling and small stove wood sized pieces, and I want to try to do it without hurting myself. The first thing that I'm going to do is take a good swing at the top. Now I'm not expecting the axe to go all the way through because of the knot. I'm expecting it to stick in the wood, and depending on how far into the wood it goes, I'll decide what my next step is. Probably I'm going to use a wedge to split it the rest of the way. Okay. As you can see, I've got a nice crack in the wood, but the axe did not split the wood completely. So I'm going to remove the axe. And I've got a little plastic felling wedge, doesn't weigh anything. And we'll put it in that crack. This is a baton that I made out of a piece of firewood. Now this piece of wood should split easier because the knot, the major knot, is not in this piece. But it does have some small little knots, so we'll see how it goes. Now this small piece will split real easy. I'm going to split this into kindling. And one last piece. Now I want to do a little bit of work on this maple limb that came from a tree in my yard. As you can see, this limb is about 2 to 2.5 inches in diameter, and it's still fairly green. And sometimes when you get a limb like this, you want to cut off the limbs. I've kind of cut them off a little bit, but there's still these sharp edges, and so you can use your hatchet. You can choke up on this axe, and it just goes right through. Here, come around here where you can see a little bit better. Where you cut those little sharp pieces very easily. This is the way I made my walking stick a few weeks ago. Now what I want to do now is I want to cut this end off of this piece of wood because it's sort of jagged here. And I'm going to try to cut it off with just a few strokes. 1, 2, and let me turn it over and hit on the opposite side. This little piece is going to go flying, and to keep it from flying up and hitting me in the eyes or somebody else, I'm going to wrap it in a towel which will kind of make it a little bit softer and hopefully limit its flight. Okay, Christian. Let me see where I'm cut. Okay, right here. Pick it up. A little bit more. A little bit more. A little bit more. Okay, and I'm going to cut one chop right here. There.
Go.
Since this limb has a bend in it, I think I'm going to cut it right at the bend so that I'll have one straight piece of wood. Pick it up a little bit more. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to hit it a couple of times on this side and turn it over and then hit it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now let's turn it over again. Grab this in. Okay, hold it down. A little bit lower, a little bit lower. And I'm going to hit it on the opposite side. It goes through that wood almost like butter. Let me do one more test before we conclude, is I want to put a little sharp edge or point on this little piece of maple wood and just show you how easy that is to do. And that's a nice little point so that you could drive that into the ground if you needed an extra stake.
For more information about camp axes, please read my book, Basic Tent Camping. Visit my website, www.basictentcamping.com, and visit my Facebook page, Modern Tent Camping.
Remember, take more trips, travel further, visit more attractions, and save money. Go tent camping.